The Rundown is brought to you by Commonwealth Brewery Limited. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us again for another evening. We begin tonight with news many Bahamian students studying in the United States need to hear and perhaps do not want to hear. According to CNN, the U.S. State Department has instructed U.S. embassies and consulates around the world to pause new student visa appointments as it moves to expand social media screening and vetting to all applicants for student visas. Now, this is according to a diplomatic cable. It's the latest move from the Trump administration that could deter international students from studying at universities in the United States. The cable, issued on Tuesday morning and signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, comes as the Trump administration has revoked scores of student visas and has attempted to stop foreign students from studying at Harvard University, a move that has been halted by a judge for the time being. So let's pause right there a second, because this is just coming out today, and of course could have serious consequences or repercussions or impact, I should say, on countries like the Bahamas, where so many of our students study abroad to the United States in universities all over the United States, based on their major, based on their choice, based on wanting to have that experience of studying abroad. I mean, we know here in the Bahamas that is a big factor for students graduating from a high school. The opportunity to study in the U.S. Now, this could significantly change how we know what we do. Why? Because we know, first of all, let's just talk about on a domestic front. We have our major university is the University of the Bahamas. It's the largest tertiary institution here. Do they have the capacity now to hold students who perhaps may have been looking to the U.S. to study? Do they now have time? If this holds and this creates an issue, how many students will now be forced to study here at the university and may not have taken that test earlier in the year to qualify the entrance exam for the University of Bahamas? What does that mean for students studying, right? Now, if we believe calm heads will prevail, as they normally do, I believe this will be another hurdle that will be overcome. I cannot see for the life of me the United States closing its doors to foreign students studying. It just makes no sense. They make, I mean, probably trillions. They've made trillions off of people coming to the United States to study. And of course, the United States has benefited from foreign students studying, because many of them, some of the brightest in their country, go to the United States and end up staying there because the U.S. end up recruiting them to work in the United States. So it would only be to the U.S.'s detriment if they no longer have that pool available to them. I believe it's just perhaps talk right now. I don't think, now people may say, well, you know, we're already having some concerns about the U.S. embassies in various countries and their tightened scrutiny on visas, and now this makes it even more difficult because they're going to now scrutinize. I always tell people, you fear nothing if you have done nothing. If you're an upstanding citizen who has done well academically and has been contributing to your country, you're good. Should be good. But if you have been doing mischief on social media, and I don't think in the Bahamas we should have that kind of concern, because the worst we get on social media is we just get rowdy. But, you know, there are some extremists around the world that do more. And I believe that's what the Trump administration is looking out for, those students who have pledged allegiance to certain groups, who are adamant in their causes and so forth. That usually not Bahamians. Bahamians just want to go to America, get a good education, be able to shop on weekends, and then come back home on Christmas and say, hey, I come home for Christmas, Mom. So I don't see that impacting Bahamian students, but it is cause that you can kind of wonder, because many people, especially doing right now, there's always a mad rush to get that I-20 form ready, to get that visa so you can get off the school and so forth. And so if this is slowing up the process, it could delay the entrance of so many. So we're going to watch it and see how it impacts. We've reached out to the United States Embassy here in the Bahamas, not gotten any word back just as yet from them, but we're going to watch and see if they're going to comment on this and say whether this will impact Bahamian students here applying. But at the end of the day, I've told people over and repeatedly, I'm a proud alumni of the University of the Bahamas. It has done well. So maybe you ought to be considering your own first. They can turn you away if you qualify. I'll tell you that for sure. And you certainly don't need a visa to go to UB. All you need is a little bit of brains, and you'll get in, and it should be fine. So sometimes it's best to be with home first, so that when other people in their country start acting funny, you're not disenfranchised, right? So let's hope for the best for our students. Don't panic. Parents, students who are graduating now, don't start freaking out. Just let's watch and see how this turns and how this develops, and you should be fine. If you did some stuff on Facebook right about now, be a good time to pull them down, erase them, and just preach Jesus, and you should be fine online. All right, let's go to another big story. Of course, we're on the eve of the big day for the administration, where the government is headed and how it proposes to get there pretty much over the next 12 months will be all laid bare in the House of Assembly on Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning, a matter of hours from now, when the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance delivers a 2025-2026 fiscal roadmap under the theme Expanding Opportunities Island by Island. Now, while the specifics of the budget is still under wraps, as they always do, the Office of the Prime Minister revealed in a release today that it will highlight targeted investments in infrastructure, education, healthcare, digital innovation, and economic empowerment with a focus on job creation, small business support, and community resilience. Well, on last night's show right here on The Rundown, OPM's Director of Communication, Trey Ramming, had this to say.
I think the Prime Minister understands, especially where you have the Prime Minister, say, a member of Parliament from the Family Islands, and you have a Deputy Prime Minister who's a member of Parliament from the Family Islands. They understand that to drive economic growth, that has to be done, a part of it has to be done through our Family Island, particularly on the infrastructure side. As you're aware, there has been a lot of talk around developing of our airports, infrastructure, and creating the kind of economic infrastructure that's going to allow for this continued economic growth, particularly in islands like Eleuthera, and islands like Bimini, islands like Abaco. So you're going to see a much concentrated focus from the government on how we could create the environment that complements the economic growth that we are experiencing.
And despite the wins, Ramming echoes a sentiment the Prime Minister has frequently shared, and that's that he's aware that some Bahamians are still hurting. And as expected, the budget is a lengthy document, according to Ramming. Up to Monday, the first draft was and I'll tell you, it's in small print, they said. The first draft was up to some 72 pages long.
It's a very intense process. As you're aware, this process takes up to 2 months, but ministries negotiating with the Ministry of Finance to get it to the very final document. Cabinet met this morning to approve the expenditure.
All right, and so that should be pretty interesting. I can tell you from my days in OPM, it's a long process. You don't sleep. They're probably going to be there all night to make sure they get it right. I do not miss that at all, but it has to be right come tomorrow morning when they have to make sure they hit all the right notes. They got to hit the right notes. We're going to be talking a little more about that right in the next side of the break on what those notes are. Some of them, I understand, are very high notes, and some are very difficult notes. They may hit a B flat somewhere in there. They may hit a C sharp or C minor. They may even go for an A. But they've got to hit the right tune, the bottom line is, because this is said to be the budget that will either make or break this administration. And of course, on this programming note, join the ZNS television network starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning for 2025-2026 budget pre-show with host Anthea Ferguson. Our ZNS News team has been working very hard to put this budget show together, so make sure you tune in. It should be on right before the communication and the historic walkover from Cabinet to the House of Assembly with the parliamentary team and that red box. With expected to be the box of goodies. We will see. We'll talk more about it on the other side of the break. On to another story we must address tonight. I want to turn our attention now to a more contentious issue. Labor and Public Service Minister, the Honorable Pia Glover-Roll, is tonight responding to Trade Union Congress President Obie Ferguson comments yesterday that the 18 unions under his umbrella will not participate in this year's Labor Day parade, as it is a political event. Mr. Ferguson also citing the government's failure to live up to its commitment in a 2021 Memorandum of Understanding. According to the Labor Minister, though, the TUC's withdrawal is disappointing, misleading, and not reflective of the truth. The government, she says, has prioritized labor issues and has signed over 55 industrial agreements, delivered salary increases, and improved benefits for hundreds of thousands of government workers, while increasing minimum wage and rolling out the first service-wide public service promotional exercise.
Leadership of the TUC suggests that this administration is failing workers. I must ask, where was this level of outrage when significantly less was being done in years prior? The truth is, the majority of what the TUC is demanding is already happening, and they know it. They know it because they've been present in the room. They've helped shape the labor legislative reform that's being finalized right now. In fact, the entire reform process, which was launched in July 2024, is built on their own recommendations. They sat at the table, they gave input, they attended our symposium just last week and said they were pleased with the draft. So what has changed between today and last week?
So the Labor Minister adding that they have been working through the Memorandum of Understanding line by line, issue by issue, and that some of the requests have been expedited. There are practical issues hindering the fulfillment of some changes the TUC is pushing for. Furthermore, that the last 5 agreements signed this year are all TUC affiliate agreements.
You don't have to agree with us, but if you intend to walk away from the National Parade, from a day that belongs to workers, not parties, then have the decency to come to the negotiating table in good faith and make a decision based on the facts. The Davis administration has kept the door open as a matter of policy. Ultimately, regardless of our views, we must all come together in the name of progress if we truly support the advancement of labor in our nation.
All right, so I want to pause right there with the Labor Minister because I believe somebody doubting and somebody has to be confused. Because, you know, if there's one minister I will back and defend, it is Pia Glover-Roll, because I've seen the work. She's been sincere in trying to address some of the most difficult matters in governance ever within the labor movement, right? You're talking legacy issues, decades old issues that have never been negotiated, never been worked through, that she is facing head on to try and address. It is not an easy task, right? It is not a quick fix. It doesn't take just 12 months or even sometimes a couple of years to solve legacy issues that have been decades old that require the art of compromise, right? And I say that because you're thinking, if you go ahead and improve and give whatever people are asking for, please bear in mind that you're talking about scores of retired people or former employees who have to now get that same benefit that you've been advocating for over all these years. Do you know the millions of dollars that is? It is just not, it doesn't make sense to argue over things that really are legacy issues that you have to figure out, okay, how do we move forward from here? How do we address it? Because it doesn't just impact those who are in the union today, it impacts those who've been in the union, those who've been in the public service for decades. They will be entitled to the same thing. Where will the country find that money from? And she said they've gone through the memorandum. The same memorandum is referring to that he says was signed when this administration came into office, that he says they're not fulfilling. She said they've gone through it line upon line. They've gone through it issue upon issue. At least that ought to count for something. And if you're at the table, she's saying they just had a forum and they were pleased with the progress. So where does this come from? What is behind the motive behind this? Those are the questions, right? And Mr. Ferguson has chosen to talk to who he wants to talk to about it and not said, well, here are the specific things. And is it enough to withdraw support from something that has historically been the day to celebrate workers in this country? And I said it last night, I'll say it again to Mr. Ferguson and his team. This is not about you. This is a day to celebrate the membership of the people you have been advocating for decades. This is about them. This is about celebrating labor in this country and the causes that have been fought for the workforce, the victories that have been won, and you must agree there have been victories. This is what that day is about. It is not the day to bring your personal grievances because you felt they're not moving at the pace they ought to move at and say, we're going to show that we are angry and not support. That's where maturity comes in. And you say, despite what we're dealing with, let's for this day put it aside and celebrate the theme of this day. It's Serrano Fox Labor Day. That man fought for something. And so in honor of him, you ought to be present because there would be no you had it not been him. And it's an insult to not show up on the day that is named in his honor because of what he has paid for this country. The very same things you're fighting for, you're able to do because of people like him. So to stay out of the march is a slap in the face to him and those who've come before you who have paved the way for you to be able to do what it is you're doing. And so I hope they reconsider because at the end of the day, it hurts nobody but themselves and it does not go to their cause. No one's going to say, well, you know, you're staying home, that's a good decision. No, it's not. It's when you put aside, there's so many times in life that you don't agree with what's going on and you don't agree with what way things are, but you still support certain causes because of what the cause represents. The father always supports his children even when they make decisions that he does not support, but because he loves his children, he stands with them. Think about it. Think about how many fathers walk their daughters down the aisle, even when they were skeptical about the man they were walking their daughter to. But they did it out of love for their daughter. And here we are, people who are considered fathers and grandfathers and uncles in the labor movement, making this kind of movement because they can't get what they want personally, or they can't get what they believe people in their union should have gotten. There have to be something that you got. She just said the last 5 industrial agreements that were signed are members of the TUC. So if only celebrating the fact that your members are signing industrial agreements should be a reason to celebrate. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but I just feel as though sometimes we have to put aside the personal agendas for the sake of the movement and the country. Well, the Labor Minister is certainly not alone in denouncing TUC's plans to boycott the Labor Day parade. Equally minded is the governing Progressive Liberal Party, which firmly believes such a decision is not in the best interest of workers. Making its own case, the PLP statement adds that from the inception of Labor Day and the labor movement, it has stood with labor. It adds that TUC President Obie Ferguson has personally benefited from the MOU he agrees has not been fulfilled, as he was named a King's Counsel because of it. See, that's going to start happening. People can start throwing the stones now because you don't put yourself out there, and people are going to start saying, well, listen, you're benefiting, right? And I think the Progressive Liberal Party probably responded because of the statement made at the press conference that the parade was being made political. I don't understand how that, because time immemorial, political parties have always, at the end of the parade, marched to show their solidarity for workers in the country. They all do it. They all come together and they march. So I don't know, understand the premise behind that, but it's interesting, right? By how tides have turned. But nonetheless, we'll continue to watch and follow and see how that happens. Now, we've been putting down even more details on the budget. Tonight, the Minister of State for the Environment and Natural Resources, the Honorable Zane Lightburn, will be on set tonight to set the stage for the Prime Minister's budget communication tomorrow. Then we've got one of the country's premier diplomats in studio. The Bahamas and the United Kingdom have enjoyed decades of successful diplomatic relations, and the man representing the UK here in the Bahamas will outline how the country's diplomatic relation stays constant. So it should be an interesting conversation tonight. Stay with us. You're watching The Rundown here on the ZNS Network. We continue right after the break. Stay close.
Hello, I'm Mario Nuri. It's never too early to prepare for a hurricane, and we want to make sure our community is always ready. So we invite you to join us for another A Familiar Walk, Step Towards Hurricane Preparedness, with special guests, Lisa Pinder, Director General, Dr. Trevor Johnson of the Bahamas Red Cross, Disaster Risk Management Authority representatives, and Charles Johnson of J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers. So do join us and stay weather aware.
Let's go.
At Frame Studio, as soon as you enter the door, we showcase any individual that comes in there and make it feel like they are at home. The space itself is 1,800 square foot. Our psych wall, which is industry standard also, is 24 feet wide. You can do anything that you can possibly think of. At Frame Studio, under our theme, Now Create More, we look at Frame Studio as a canvas. And any artist knows a canvas is blank, and then you create whatever you want to do, right? So we have where you could rent tools. We even have workstations that people could rent out to anyone inspiring to do what I've done, or what my colleagues have done, or any other journey. I would say to you, don't be afraid. The worst someone can actually tell you is no. So if you have a vision, you have an idea, not everyone will get it. But if you believe in your vision, you believe in your idea, I say go wholeheartedly at it.
For more information about the Creative Entrepreneurs Initiative and the Crafting the Bahamas workshops, email info@sbdcbahamas.com or call us at 461-7232.
Welcome back to The Rundown. It's great to have all of you with us. I see those of you in the Lion's Den. Always a pleasure to have you in the Lion's Den on Facebook, and then those watching by YouTube, or if you're watching your cable platform, Flow TV, BTC, whatever platform you're watching on, those in the Turks and Caicos around the Caribbean and internationally watching as well. We're always glad to have you with us. Well, tomorrow the government will deliver the 2025-2026 national budget that reaffirms the government's commitment to sustainable, inclusive growth across all islands. Now, as the country continues on its path of stability, opportunity, affordability, and reform, the government remains committed to a future where growth is not concentrated but shared, island by island, community by community. Among those who are present in the House of Assembly during this budget debate is a member of Parliament for Yamacraw and the Minister of State for the Environment and Natural Resources, the Honorable Zane Lightburn. He joins us on the show. Minister, it's good to have you. Welcome.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me, Clint.
How do you feel? This is the eve of the budget. I've been around the table for the process for many years, but I know it's always nerve-wracking trying to see what you're going to get, whether it was enough, and so forth. Let's start there personally, first of all. Are you kind of satisfied with what the environment is going to look like based on this budget?
I am. I am very satisfied. Of course, we never get everything we want, but I'm satisfied that it shows our focus. The government is focused and it has good leadership.
So, how did we get here? Are you excited for what is going to be presented? I know the parliamentary caucuses have been meeting to talk about this budget. What do you think the anchor points are going to be for this? What do you want the Bahamian people to gather from this budget tomorrow?
We would like for Bahamian people to understand that this budget's intent is to reach everyone, to give them opportunity. We want to expand opportunity to Bahamians. There are some Bahamians who would say that they feel left out. They're not sure really how to access some of the things that we have been doing. So this budget focuses on reaching those persons, expanding opportunities, every island, taking into account areas that have been left out in the past and people who have been left out in the past. So we're very proud to present this budget on behalf of the Bahamian people because it shows a focus on opportunities and expanding those for Bahamians.
People may say, well, this is a year out from elections. Is it too late to be doing this? What do you say?
I say we had steady progress, and if you look at our budgets of the past, since we came in the administration, there are many things that we can highlight that we address that haven't been addressed either for decades or in some cases not at all. When we look at the promises of our administration and we match and we check the list, we can see the decreases in taxes and VAT that we had promised to people. We can see that we have expanded permanent pensionable, what a lot of people care about in terms of public service, about becoming permanent and pensionable, opportunities for promotions, for salary increases that they wouldn't have received. We have expanded opportunities when it comes to investment in education, in infrastructure. When we talk about feeding school children, there are many things that we can point to, building roads and hospitals and clinics and refurbishing clinics. And so it's not a budget that waited until the end to do magical things. We have been moving very steadily to make sure that we impact people all along the way. And we focus on what is very important to our Bahamian people. And again, that's expanding the opportunities for them, to give them options for success, to see themselves realize their dreams, their realities of their family lives come to fruition as a government as best we could.
How much of input have leaders in government had around the table to say, okay, this is what my people need, this is what our people want to see? We've spoken to the people in the communities, here's what they want, to ensure that the budget actually reflects the needs and wants of the people and not just a select people who are around the table and may not even be in touch with the people in the communities?
I would say that this group of members of parliament, we've been on the ground since day one. The requirement for us was to be present with the people. I think that every member of parliament, or almost every member of parliament, their phone numbers are floating around. You can get them in groups. You can reach them on social media.
They criticize and say people ain't answering phones no more.
And in some cases, they might not answer their phone immediately, but I know they return calls. And it's a case of you have thousands of people that you have to work, right? And you have to pick when you can answer a call, and sometimes you don't even have your phone. We can't take our phones in the cabinet to be there texting. We gotta focus on what's going on and to make sure that we deliver what the people expect of us, and also bring that back to them when we go into our constituencies. So in the midst of that, we balance that with walking. We knock on doors. We've been having regular monthly meetings. We have been having initiatives in communities to bring people together, trying to bring communities together, and just doing improvements ourselves individually as members of parliament. So we're very connected, and that's how we relate to our people, because one thing they can say, access, I think, is very important, and that's what we have been giving them.
What will this budget address that you consider to perhaps may have been the challenges of the administration in the past? What are some of the things that the budget is actually going to address that may kind of put leaders in a more place of feeling, okay, I think we get it now?
Well, we spoke about the high cost of living often, and people are feeling the cost of living. So we have not waited until the budget to start putting in measures to address that. We have begun, like I said, the decreases in VAT on essential items. We have also looked at the investment in energy, and persons are telling us what, compared to what they had to pay, monies are in their pockets, hundreds of dollars they have saved at the end of the month to be able to do other things with, because we've made it more affordable for electricity. So we can see areas where directly people have benefited and are benefiting from our initiatives of trying to decrease the cost of living overall, which is a major factor, and that comes from energy, that comes from the decreases that you see across the board, and some of the promises that we made from day one that we were going to lower these taxes and continue to look at food items where we can bring relief to people. And so if persons realize that when we look at the unemployment level, that speaks to availability of jobs. And so we have the lowest unemployment level on record in decades. And we are also hailed by the international community of doing a fantastic job, a remarkable job in economics, which speaks to the Prime Minister's office, the Office of the Ministry of Finance, and that team in working to make sure that we pay attention to the international community and our relationships, and locally at home. So this is expanding opportunities for everybody. If you're a small business owner, this budget speaks to you. If you're the regular blue-collar worker, the regular man in the community, this budget speaks to you and expanding opportunities so that you could be better in your country.
Let's talk about the business community, because the business community for so long has talked about the challenge of doing business in the country and difficulty in being able to develop businesses thrive. How does this budget and what this administration has previously done address businesses and made it more easier for businesses, I guess?
Well, we have upgraded our systems. We've modified our systems to cause businesses to be able to talk and communicate with governments easily. I can't go in very detailed information about the budget. Of course, the Prime Minister has to do his magic tomorrow.
Yeah, I think he'd be a little upset if you had revealed.
And so I say generally the small business owners and generally the business persons in our country, the everyday man, they're going to be very happy that our success, that our continued success as a government is being reflected in this budget considering them. And so we expect that it's not a magic fix. There is no quick fix to any situation when you're dealing with a country, a very diverse country. And so we understand the journey, and we are confident that this journey continues to show the progress of our administration for our people.
There's a considerable focus on being able to deliver to the Family Islands so they're not left out. What are some of those things that the people can expect on the Family Islands? When they hear island by island, people are going to perk up and say, okay, you mean this has something to do with me? What do people on those islands can expect? Because oftentimes they feel left out and feel as if the government is always Nassau-centric, New Providence-centric. What can they expect?
Bahamians always feel like they need to touch and feel progress. And we can deliver that. We've been showing on the Family Islands that we're prepared to deliver from airports, infrastructure, when people see improvements, when people see development, when people see investment, they are able to benefit directly through some of the road projects. It's been amazing what the Ministry of Works, for example, have been doing with the road projects on the Family Islands. You hear of the airports and the development of airports, improvements of airports on the Family Islands. Persons who traverse back and forth or travel back and forth, whether it's to New Providence or to other islands, they have access to a better quality of travel service. And so we're looking at the Family Islands not only being where some of the other Family Islands have been, like the Exuma boasts of 100% employment, right? Eleuthera is now boasting of 100% employment. We still have all of these investments that's coming on stream in almost all of our Family Islands. So this budget speaks to us paying attention to all of the Family Islands, because look at Grand Bahama. The fight to get Grand Bahama, and I've lived in Grand Bahama for a very long time. So the fight to get Grand Bahama to that level of not only hope, but where they can see tangible achievement is something that we should all be proud and happy for. So that's why we ask for partnerships when it comes to development of our Family Islands, because it really transcends political lines. And we want Bahamians to feel hopeful, to not feel in despair, but to look at themselves and how they can access what's going on in their country. Because we hail the things internationally and we hail the things on paper economically that we are now experiencing in the country. We need people to feel that and to know how to access that. And so this budget focuses on that diversity.
What do you say to Bahamian people? Because no matter what you say tomorrow, no matter if everything is all peaches and cream, the opposition will criticize and point at holes and say, well, no, this doesn't make any sense, or no, this is not impossible, or no, this. What do you say to Bahamians? Because you know the opposition is going to come and say, well, you failed at this, so how are you going to do that? What do you say?
We acknowledge the pressure that people feel. We acknowledge the struggle that Bahamians feel, and we are addressing that. The opposition will criticize. We've asked them to be fair in their criticism because we understand that they want to lead. We have shown that comparatively, we have been able to do a better job, and we stand by that. We are continuing to be focused on what we are about to deliver to people, or what we have promised in delivery to our people, and we're not going to be distracted by the criticism. One thing we do is we listen, and we listen to people. If their criticisms are constructive, then we would take in mind and we'd bear in mind some of the things that they say. But we have asked for them not to criticize just for criticizing's sake, and we have asked for our people to look at what we have done, to also be fair, to not only, because these are public servants who actually work and help us deliver, to be fair to our countrymen who work so hard for you and on your behalf. And this administration, I can say, has remained focused with steady and focused leadership. So we don't expect that the opposition would do anything other than criticize, because this has been, I don't take it easy on them in Parliament about it, because I ask them, look, don't just criticize for criticizing's sake. Show us where you can help, because everyone has input. And we will take into account, but we're not going to stop and be distracted by you just trying to criticize, to downplay what's going on that's really on record as progress for our country.
Once the debate gets going in June, ministers will get an opportunity to talk about their budget and what they're going to do. What can we expect from individual ministers like yourselves when you make your presentations?
Well, as you can see, the island, cleaning up the island, for example, is a big part of what the Ministry of Environment...
Yeah, because New Providence was filthy. Oh, Lord, it was filthy. And it's looking better.
Yes, and so we realize that we have to invest in that, in cleaning up the island, also holding people accountable, because Bahamians have to take accountability not only by participating in good habits, but also reporting when they see people abusing and damaging their country. We want our people to understand that this is a partnership that we have with them. And so as a ministry, all of us go in there with a lot of asks, and sometimes our ask is way beyond what we can rightfully give. But this government has shown responsibility and still the ability to be bold in development, in our budgeting, in our work and decision-making. And I think that that has been great for the country, the fact that we can be responsible, we can be bold, and still see success.
As you wrap up, obviously, the walkover is always the historic thing. You're excited about that. What is it like when you gather on budget morning?
The excitement is there, yes. Just to walk over, being a part of something good is always a good feeling to have. And you want to be a part of a winning team. I feel like we are part of a winning team. And everyone bring their individual talent, but we work together as a single unit because we are focused on the progress of our country. And so expanding those opportunities through this growth and this work and this excitement is something to be happy about. And I think that we don't take for granted that persons who are feeling the pinch of what the world is going through in terms of cost of living, we're doing our part to make sure that Bahamians can feel relief. And I think that being a part of that, knowing what's going to be presented by the Prime Minister, who's been an awesome leader, I think that we have a lot to smile about, but we are very sober, conscious, and humbled by the Bahamian people to be able to serve in the position and to continue to serve in that position, and we look forward to continually working on behalf of our Bahamian people.
All right, Minister Zane Lightburn, thank you for joining us tonight, and all the best tomorrow.
Thank you for having me.
All right, stay with us. When we come back tonight, we're talking about that partnership, that partnership between the Bahamas and the United Kingdom. I don't see them discouraging people to come and go study in the UK. We'll talk to the High Commissioner when we come back. Stay close. We're back after this.
Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, we have been in Exuma now for the past 4 years, carrying out our paving program. A part of our company's philosophy is producing work to international standards. So when you look at our paving division, we have a state-of-the-art lab to do all of our testing in-house, as well as a state-of-the-art asphalt plant with a trained technician carrying out the work on that site. The overarching goal of our company is to produce the work that we're doing in the entire Bahamas to international standards. We also make a difference by the training of our staff. We have a very intensive training program going on to where we are teaching young men how to learn the art of striping. Being a young man myself, I've made mistakes in the past. I was given a second chance to better my life, and it's only fitting that we pass that along. What's important for us is giving them a second chance for them to get a skill and a career that could take them further in life.
Welcome back. Thomas Hartley has been the United Kingdom's High Commissioner to the Bahamas since August of 2022. Before this appointment, he was a Deputy High Commissioner in Ghana. The High Commissioner is the UK government's representative responsible for the direction and work of the High Commission and its Deputy High Commissions and/or consulates, including political work, trade and investment, press and cultural relations, and consular services. High Commissioner, we're so happy to have you here in the Rundown. Welcome.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your time here. I remember when you first came, I was in the office of the Prime Minister's press secretary, and it was just such an honor to have you. And I remember there's a cloud that you had to come in and so forth with our dear Queen, Queen's passing. But nonetheless, you had to come in and pick up the helm and carry on. As you reflect, because we understand that this is coming to an end for you, your tour in August, what do you look back at and say, okay, we've done this, we've done that, I've checked this box, I've checked that box. Talk about your time here.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me this evening.
Yes, my pleasure.
We've missed you from the podium at OPM.
I know, right? I don't miss it.
The seat fits you, so you're looking
good. Thank you.
Yeah, haven't we lived a lot of life in the last 3 years? When I arrived in August 22, shortly then, Her late Majesty passing away.
That's right.
This last 3 years have rushed by. So my job as the British High Commissioner has been to build bridges between Britain and the Bahamas. And I think over the last 3 years, we've achieved an awful lot. So when I first sat down with the Prime Minister, when he first officially welcomed me here, he gave me the priority of scholarships and education, and that's been a huge focus of what we've been doing. We've managed to now have 5 times as many scholarships for our master scholarships that we send.
That's amazing.
We're just finished interviews for those people who are going to go off in September, and we're waiting to announce that good news soon. We've been sending doctors and forensic scientists and journalists to the UK to do their master's courses. We've got another scholarship. We've just been finishing the interviews this weekend with the King's Foundation for Bahamian builders and carpenters and stonemasons. Yeah.
That's different.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's been thanks to the Lyford Key Foundation. We've been hoping to send 8 Bahamians to the UK this summer to start a 6-month scholarship at working on the King's houses and palaces across the UK, and to come back with the skills to be able to restore Bahamian heritage buildings right here as well.
That's amazing.
So we've been doing a lot in the education space.
I'm going to throw some shade, because while you're doing much to recruit people to come and study, we see some of our other neighbors putting brakes on and so forth. But it speaks to the relationship that the Bahamas has had with the UK. We're part, we're one. What are some of the other things that you've done? You focus on education, being able to provide scholarship opportunities. What are some of the other things you've been busy doing?
So scholarship's been really important, but also education in the broader sense as well. I was really pleased to be at the launch of the new Bahamas history text a few weeks ago. And you might remember that just before Christmas, we donated 10,000 pages of Britain's National Archive, all about Bahamian independence, which is a really important part of the UK Bahamas story. But it's also, these documents are for Bahamian young people to study and to understand, and to be able to understand where they've come from so they can see where they're going. So
I thought that was such an amazing thing you did, because I remember it was during a trip with the Prime Minister when we went to the UK and we did a tour of the archives, and we just marveled at what was actually there about the Bahamas. And I watched the Prime Minister as he went through and looked through. His face just gleamed, because he was like, oh my goodness, I know this. And he went into one of the particular rooms in the archives, and he was just telling us a story about Cat Island. And there it was written, it
was the trial of Benedict DeVoe.
And there it was written. And it was just amazing. And to now see that translated into the fact that the Bahamas can now have that, I thought was just an amazing, a successful feat for the Bahamian people.
Well, so much of Britain's story is Bahamas' story as well. And we're really pleased we managed to keep hold of so many of these documents, and we're so pleased that so many Bahamians choose the UK for study or to go on holiday. And we want to protect and to treasure that relationship as much as we can.
When we look at the United Kingdom and we look at the opportunities, and I know we have our connection because of the Bahamas originally being a British colony, and then our head of state really is the king, represented by the Governor General. But outside of that, what kinds of diplomatic bonds have we had as a people, outside of the fact that we came out of the colony?
Well, we've just been hearing from Minister Lightbourne how local politics is in the Bahamas. But actually, many of the things Bahamians care about, where their kids go to school, the price for their food, what car they drive, where their passport takes them, all of these are fundamentally international, and all of them require international relations to work really well. And so my job here for the UK High Commission has been trying to smooth, well, first of all, to listen to Bahamians to see what they want. And I've loved travelling around the Bahamas and getting to know Bahamians, playing dominoes, getting to know, going dancing, whatever it is, and hearing what's a priority. But then also to make sure that I smooth out as many of those things as possible. Education has been a big point. Culture and the arts has been sport, obviously, been doing a lot in sailing, but also trade. it's been clear from this government, from the government of the Bahamas, how important it is to reduce the cost of living. And the more that we can trade with the Commonwealth and with UK partners, I think the more that we can do in that space.
Would you say Great Britain is hearing the cries of Commonwealth states like the Bahamas when we voice our concerns and when we express things that we like to see done, when we had the challenges with, in the past, blacklisting and no matter deregulation, no matter what we try to do, de-risking, there's always seems to be showing up. These concerns that countries actually had. Is Great Britain hearing the concerns?
Absolutely. I think despite the very long history between our two countries, there is nothing superficial about it at all. The UK takes its relationship with the Bahamas incredibly seriously. When Honourable Prime Minister Brave Davis went to the UK on that visit, who did he have lunch with? The King.
Correct.
Right? We take it to the highest level in our country and work with absolute respect between us. And I think when countries of the Commonwealth have talked to us about the importance of trade, the importance of study, the importance of climate change, those are absolutely the UK's priorities for our relationships. And it's actually deep in our values, as it is in Bahamian values as well. These aren't token things, but we care about how we invest. We care about who we hire and how we hire locally. We want to act responsibly on the climate and with nature. And we want to leave behind a legacy that when we trade together, people are proud to say, a British company was here and they made the place better. They didn't dredge. They didn't bring in tens of thousands of foreign workers. They didn't use the wrong steel or overcharge. We take our role responsibly with the Bahamas and the Commonwealth countries, and I hope you felt the impact of that.
Yes. Let's talk a bit about investments and export financing, something Prime Minister wanted to see happen, and linkages. Talk a little bit about what has been achieved on that front.
So that's right. So in the budget update a few months ago, the Prime Minister said that he was going to be looking to export finance to foreign sovereign banks in order to provide more of the international finance for infrastructure. We brought out our chief executive of our UK Export Finance Bank. We brought him out last month, and we said that we had $1 billion worth of financing that we were ready and willing to offer the Bahamas. And we talked in depth with the government about infrastructure, so bridges like the Glass Window Bridge, about the bridge to Ararat Key and half a dozen others. We talked about airports like Freeport Airport. We talked about hurricane shelters. We talked about storm drains. We talked about fire trucks. We talked about a huge range of things and said, Prime Minister, we are ready to help finance these things with you. As in, they're not gifts, it's Bahamas pays for it. We'll hear more about that in the budget tomorrow. But the relationship with the UK shows a huge amount of agility. It shows the quality of the finances there, where it's almost the cheapest that anyone can get on the market. And it brings with it high-quality expertise and Bahamian jobs. And so I was really pleased how welcome the Prime Minister made my chief executive feel. We managed to travel all over and have some really fantastic conversations with different ministries and water and sewage and BPL and people like that. And I'm hoping tomorrow we're going to hear a bit of an update about the plan for the next year.
Sounds exciting. Yeah. It was a very good preview. Let's go to a break. When we come back on and talk, get your take on the whole thing with the U.S.-China whole tobacco trade and how that fits in the grand scheme of things. And then, of course, your farewell. We'll talk about that when we come right back.
Great.
We're back after the signals.
After 30 years of banking, I've decided to take a leap of faith. I moved from banking into an untapped industry, which is manufacturing in the Bahamas. And now we are standing on 3 acres of land on which we're going to be putting the Bahamas' first end-to-end plastic recycling company, Eden Recycling and Manufacturing Company Limited. Eden has 2 arms, recycling and manufacturing.
This is groundbreaking for us. It's never been done before. It really makes a difference, not only in the Bahamas, but even around the world. This is not just a project that we're doing so that we can make a couple of dollars. We want to make sure that it benefits those who come after us. In future generations, we hope that this is a small vision, that they will take it and they'll expand on it. We can have the formula for what it means to do end-to-end recycling in the Bahamas, in the region, and even if we have to export these ideas and thoughts and concepts even into the U.S.
It's the country's biggest stage for business and investment, and the Bahamas Tonight will be there bringing you all the action.
One station. We've got the up-close interviews and predictions for growth for the nation's busiest sectors. taking you around the world.
And at the same time covering the biggest stories that have taken over local headlines, now expected to take an even different twist. We'll be there to give you a front row seat.
Keeping you completely covered.
2 newscasts, 2 nights live from Times Square in New York City.
This is serious business.
But make no mistake, it's the Big Apple. So we're also giving you the all access to the interesting and fun stories like the who's who in Bahamian diaspora and what you can't miss if you're in the city that never sleeps.
The Bahamas Tonight, live from New York City, New York, May 29th and 30th, bringing you live coverage of the Bahamas' Business and Investments Forum 2025. Only the sun covers the Bahamas better.
Summer in the Bahamas. The weather is hot, but not as hot as the ZNS summer packages. Get ads on ZNS TV or ZNS Radio Network or the TV community page, or a combination of all three. ZNS has got you covered with great prices, whatever package you choose. Book before June 7th and get the local Federation Championship Baseball bonus full of all kinds of extras free of charge. Contact your account executive or call ZNS Sales at 502-3800 today. Hot summer package rates valid until July 31st.
I haven't been coming to this island since I was 12 years old. It didn't take me long to realize the rich history it has here. When I bought this island in 2018, I fulfilled a lifelong dream. The goal is not only to preserve the memories I made over those years, but to make new ones and to give others the opportunity to do the same. As we go through this process, it has become clear to me, we aren't just rebuilding an island, we're reviving a legend.
Welcome back in our final segment. We're talking to the British High Commissioner, His Excellency Tom Hartley, as he prepares to leave this tour of duty in the summer, in August months. But before we do that, we have to get in some discussions about what's been happening with trading, including what's been we see happening in China, with the USA and China going back and forth, how that impacts the Commonwealth. Your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's been very interesting to observe that in the press between the US and China debating over who should be the Bahamas' best friend. And what Ambassador Yan and Kim Furnish are incredible ambassadors, and they're doing an incredible job representing their countries. I think when I talk to most Bahamians and I listen to what their values are, that they want to be treated with respect, they want to be paid a good wage, they want to know that their family is going to be respected and that the nature and climate and the area they live will be understood. I think when I listen to those values, it's actually countries in the Commonwealth that are the natural trading partners for the Bahamas. And actually, let me say that the government of the Bahamas completely gets this.
Yes.
That I think the work the Trade Commission has been doing in order to build connections with places like Ghana and Nigeria and with India and Guyana and the UK and Canada, these are the natural trading partners for the Bahamas. And when these companies from these countries come in, they can make a fundamentally positive impact, which I think is quite different to how some Bahamians' experience have been from other countries.
I think we've become so used to being, in lack of better words, Americanized, right? We're used to the American brands, that we believe this was the only way. And I think had this not happened, we would never even been considered thinking, well, what about other countries that we can trade from and perhaps get the same quality of goods, maybe even at a cheaper price. This is now forced that to happen. Bahamians are now becoming open to say, okay, I'll try a different brand, and realizing the quality is just as good, in some cases even better. So I think it has opened the doors for Bahamians to move away from what traditionally we grew up on and being able to give opportunities elsewhere. So it has kind of worked out for the good. Do you think it'll change? Do you think we're going to get over this season, or is this going to be the new norm?
I think it has changed already. I already see the work the government of the Bahamas is doing to engage in countries like the UK, to bring in new goods, better companies. I think that investment is already happening. I think we've seen the British companies that are investing are making a hugely positive difference in their communities. And so, the government's heading in the right direction as far as I can see.
In August, you'll be bidding farewell to this wonderful piece of paradise. First of all, what's next for you? Are you able to say what's next for you? And then your thoughts as you leave the Bahamas.
So I've been overseas serving my government for 10 years, and so it's my turn to go back to London and to be reprogrammed and to relearn my ministry's work.
UK politics, oh Lord.
Exactly. But I've got some more work to be done in the next few months before we go. We've got some travelling to be doing around the family islands. We're hoping to be at Long Island for the regatta next week.
That's
hoping
exciting.
To support some of the music schools in Eleuthera, some of the sports teams in Grand Bahama and Abaco. So we've got some work to be done before we go. And my job is to make sure that we leave the relationship as positive as possible. So when my successor arrives in September, he'll be another fantastic public servant. They'll arrive and keep growing that relationship and keep deepening it for the future.
Well, they've got some tall shoes to fit. You've been absolutely amazing as a representative and a great partner.
Well, Bahamians have been incredibly welcoming, and I'm so grateful. I was with two wonderful people today, even at road traffic, Mrs. Mortimer, Miss Nixon, this lovely lady called Hannah, who could not have been more patient with me. I didn't know what I was doing. And every Bahamian I've met...
Do we all not know what we're doing?
Every Bahamian I've met has just been so kind, and I'm just really grateful to how you've treated us.
Thank you for being here, and we wish you all the best, definitely.
Thank you very much.
Show. And that does it for the rundown. Be sure to stay locked to the ZNS Network for the Bahamas tonight. At 11 is a final newscast in the country with, of course, Royston Jones, who's in the House of Ring for 11 o'clock news. And, of course, don't forget tomorrow our live coverage of the budget takes place on the ZNS Network around 9 o'clock, 9:30ish. We're going to be on the air with the budget communication. We'll be there all day until the opposition is completed and the government has responded, and we'll have it all covered. And then don't forget, Thursday and Friday, history in the making for the Broadcasting Corporation. The first time ever, the Bahamas Tonight, the full hour newscast will be broadcast live from New York City on, of course, London Thursday and Friday. London is next. I like that. London is next. We're definitely going to do that. Thanks so much for watching. Good night, everybody.
At Fort Montague, I'm Opal Roach. This is ZNS.